Hey there, this is Mike from EMC. I just wanted to do a quick review of two EVs that I've owned, the 2023 Kona SEL EV and this one here, the 2023 Model Y Long Range. I've owned both vehicles. I owned the Kona a little bit longer than this guy here. However, both of them were really great cars. They just had some trade-offs, and I wanted just to help somebody who's looking at both of these cars figure out what are the takeaways and what are the features that are most important for them if they're trying to make that decision. So the first one I'd like to start with is just talking about range. So for me, my biggest resistance to buying any EV was the idea of range. I just did not like the idea of running out of distance in order to do a road trip. That kind of stressed me out. And so I really started getting into the different ranges for both of these vehicles. And there's something that's very interesting with both of these that I think could help. So the Kona SEL, the EPA said that that one would get 258 miles. But the Edmunds real world test drive data from real world drivers like you and I, it actually got 308 miles. So that was about 50 miles more than what the government said it did. Now, the opposite is true with the Tesla. The Tesla, the EPA said, gets 330 miles in range. However, Edmunds test data was saying from real users, it was getting about 310 miles. So you're looking at 308 miles for the Kona, 310 miles for the Tesla. It's basically a wash. So that's the good thing if you're looking at just overall range between these two vehicles. Now, let's dive into, it's not just about range though. It's obviously very much about how are you going to charge this battery, right? So I'm just going to kind of walk over here to this other side here. This is obviously where the charging port is on the Tesla. The Kona, you're going to charge it in the front of the vehicle. So let's just kind of break down the big difference that I've learned over owning these two vehicles. So with the Kona has a slower onboard charger. So right now, for example, I'm charging at my house, which is an onboard charger. So it's converting AC power from the house to DC power, which the battery has. And I'm gonna stay out of all the electrician stuff because I'm not an electrician by any means. However, it's important because the speed at which you can charge determines how fast you can charge at your house or your workplace. And so the Model Y has a much faster onboard charger, which means that easily when you plug this puppy in and you go to bed at night, you're gonna have a full charge when you wake up in the morning. And the Kona, you're almost gonna have almost the same full charge. It's probably not gonna be a full battery, but you're still gonna get a lot of charge overnight. So if you're just using both of these cars for daily driving to and from work around town, and you can just charge in your driveway like I can here, both of them are gonna be pretty comparable. You're not gonna be really inconvenienced by either of them. Now, the real difference though that I've experienced is actually on a road trip. So Tesla has an unmatched network of superchargers. And so we'll throw up an image of a map here, just showing the network of superchargers all across the United States. When you go to charge up, and a supercharger basically is a place that you're charging in the public. If you're at a rest stop, there are superchargers at convenience stores all over the place, right? You'll see them with the cool towers. They say Tesla on them. It's so easy to charge with the Tesla. You just plug it in and it already knows your credit card and it just bills you automatically. Very, very dead simple. And this car is gonna charge up to about 80% in between 20 to 30 minutes. And so that means if I'm doing a road trip, say down to Florida to see my parents, I know that I can really charge in about 20, 30 minutes. Very easy to kill 20, 30 minutes. Now with the Kona SEL, you can use Tesla's network for it. However, you're gonna pay a lot more, but you also have the network of Electrify America and EVgo and ChargePoint. The big kicker though, is that it's just slower. It's just gonna be a lot slower to actually charge. And so, let's talk a little bit about that difference. So if I was to take the same level battery in the Kona to one of those other charging stations, because it has, I think the max that it would charge was around 77 kilowatt hours versus Tesla's 250 kilowatt hours, it's just putting more power into the battery a lot slower. So I would have to sit typically in a parking lot for between closer to around 50 minutes to an hour to get the same charge that I could get in a Tesla in about 30 minutes max. So it really almost doubles your time sitting around at a charging station. So I will give that, the Model Y just crushes the Kona in terms of speed of charging, which for me, when I'm not working, I really want to spend most of my time on the road and not just sitting at a Wawa. All right, so now let's just talk about space between the two cars. So I'm here in the Model Y's trunk. The Model Y, I'll just cut right to the chase, so much more trunk space in this vehicle. I just got back from a camping trip and I did not camp in the vehicle this time, but I have in the past camped in a Tesla before with the seats down. The great thing about it is you can even put a mattress in here and you've got this glass roof, which is really nice. You can look out, see the stars. It can get a little awkward if you're in a place where there's just a bunch of big trailers around you and they can look down. But this car just has so much more storage space than you're gonna get in the Kona. I don't have all the stats exactly on the cubic inches and such. We can put those up for you to see online. But if you're looking for just space, especially for families, you've got space down here. You've got hidden pockets. You also have a true frunk in this car as well. The Model Y is just gonna give you so much more space overall. It just feels like a larger car. Now, I will say the Kona I owned before I got this car, it never let me down when it came to space. I wish I had videos of me going to Lowe's, putting down the seats, bringing back Adirondack chairs, insulation, pieces of lumber. That thing, I was able to carry almost anything, tons of mulch. So the Kona surpassed my expectations in terms of space. I would say, unless you know you need the space, the Kona is probably a really good choice and it will exceed your expectations. All right, so now let's just talk about comfort. So owning both of these vehicles and doing very long road trips down to Florida, I will say the Hyundai Kona surprisingly had more comfortable seats. Now I can't really tell you why that's the case. I think the seats are just a little bit more traditional perhaps, but those seats just really hug you and I could drive in that car so long and I never was uncomfortable. The Tesla overall pretty comfortable, has a lot more gadgets in terms of things like lumbar support and just different features and different tech. The seats overall just weren't as comfortable as the Kona. The other difference too, of course, is you got vegan leather here. The Kona seats that I owned had just the regular cloth seats. And so they were just a lot cooler. I actually prefer cloth even though this white leather is pretty good from a heat perspective. Having owned Teslas with dark seats versus white seats, I really didn't want the white seats. However, I will say it's a lot cooler than the dark seats. So I would highly recommend you getting white seats if you're one of those people like me who was like, heck no, I would never drive a car with white seats. Definitely reconsider. Now, just let's talk also about the speed and the handling. So the Tesla is just a lot quicker of a car. I think this model is 0 to 60 in about 4.8 seconds. This car just, the best way to describe it is you gun it and whoever's sitting in this passenger seat for the first time is gonna go like that and they're just gonna smile nonstop. And it still brings a smile to my face every single time I merge onto a highway. It's just unsurmatched. Now the Tesla is surprisingly also a really fast car too. Until you experience the Model Y though, you think the Kona is gonna be really fast, but the Tesla definitely takes the cake on that. The Kona, I will say, the Kona is substantially lighter than the Model Y. So when you gun the Kona, it feels kind of like it's light, like it's so airy on the road. And the Model Y just feels a lot more grounded. It feels a lot more solid. It also is the difference between front wheel drive for the Kona versus the Tesla's got all wheel drive. So that has something to do with it. The Kona, I will say, is a great car though for just parking. If you live in a city and you've got tight parking spots, the Kona is just going to be a little bit easier to park, even though the Tesla's got a lot more tech and such. But overall, for just comfort, for things like seats, I would say hands down the Kona. Now for the ride handling and speed and acceleration and just putting a smile on your face, I would have to say the Tesla wins that one. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about tech. Now we know that the Model Y is essentially a computer. This car was designed as an EV. It looks a lot like an EV. It just looks different than any other car out there. The Kona, obviously, from a looks perspective, it looks just like the gas-powered one. You would really have to look closely to see the little electric badge on the back, and also the fact that there's no exhaust and the charge point in the front. But let's talk about tech. Tesla, hands down, takes the cake in terms of ease of use because it was designed first and foremost as an EV, and it really is a tech company from the very beginning. The Tesla app is superior to Hyundai Kona's Blue Link service. So first of all, when you get a Tesla, you're going to get the app, and it's going to be lifetime access. You're going to be able to control a ridiculous amount of features from the Tesla app. You can even look in the camera. You can see the interior, what's going on, if you've got dogs in the car. The Kona is not going to give you any of that. Other things, like for me, I own 2 dogs, and so being able to make sure that the air conditioning is on for them in the summertime while the windows are up. Tesla actually has a dog mode. They've got a camp mode. They've really thought through all these different use cases. The Kona, you can get a dog mode on, but you have to shut your car, lock it, and then you have to open the app and turn the climate on. But remember, you're probably only going to have Blue Link for free for about 3 years. So if you own a car, if you rebuy one, you're going to have to purchase an expensive subscription there. So I do think that, just hands down, Tesla takes the cake when it comes to tech. Now let's talk a little bit about just driving modes. So the Kona had a couple nice features where you could easily just press a button in the middle console to change the drive modes from normal to Sport Plus, or I think it was just actually Sport. And then you also had Eco and you had Eco Plus. So those were actually, I'm sorry, I take that back. You just had Eco mode. So what Eco allowed you to do was, if you were really in a pinch and you were really getting close to running out of range, you could put on Eco and it really would just turn off all the non-essential systems and let you get to that destination so you could plug in and charge. The Tesla, just until recently, made it a lot more difficult to do that. And so I will say that for the Kona, that was really nice just to have that ease of use. And then just overall, while we're talking about tech, the Tesla is a totally different paradigm from what you're used to if you're coming from the gas car world. You walk into a Kona, the Kona EV, and it just feels just like at home. From a gas car, everything feels really familiar. And so I will say that it is a little bit smaller of an adjustment, but in the long run, you're just getting so much more for your money when it comes to Tesla's technology, especially that app. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about style and design. So when I first looked at both of these cars, I will say that obviously the Tesla just looks so much more like a different car than anything else you've seen. It looks very much like an EV. Right now the car's locked, so it automatically folds up the mirrors. It's got these aerodynamic handles, and then also too, just overall the car is really, really sleek and futuristic looking. I will say though that the Model Y just looks like a way more expensive car than the Kona. There's just no doubt about that. This car looks like it is a $50,000 car. The Kona looks more like a $25,000 car. I don't know why people still think I'm rich when they see me drive this Tesla, because I got this for a really good deal. They're really not that as expensive as most people think. But if I pulled up in a Kona, people would not think that I was wealthier than I actually am. So I always thought that was really interesting between the two cars. But let's just talk about some things that you can customize with this one versus what you can do with the Kona. So the Tesla, when I bought this, it had just the standard wheels that were silver. And to be honest, I thought the wheels looked really dorky. So I ended up getting these guys from Rimtrix, these covers, and they're made in the US and really happy. They just give the car a sportier look. But the nice thing is that these tires are regular tires, so they're not the fussy performance tires. So that's better for my lifestyle, just because I'm trying to knock around a little bit more. I don't really want the drama that comes with performance tires and just the cost. So the Kona, I will say, again, look just like the gas Kona. It looks very similar to a regular small crossover type of car. The Kona that, I definitely think that it's a pretty good looking car overall. Now, I will say a couple of things to keep in mind is that the Tesla has this glass roof, and Until you actually own a Tesla, you're gonna think the glass roof is amazing and it's really nice. It does have some drawbacks. It does get very, very hot in the car. That's why I really recommend the white seats, even if you're like me and you initially look at white seats and you're like, heck no, would never get white seats. I'm telling you, if you drive this same car in dark seats versus the white seats, you'll never want to go back to the dark seats if you live in an area that gets sun for any time of the year. So overall, I would say I like the Tesla. It also, I plan on getting a roof rack for it as well. They just have so many accessories for it just because of the ecosystem for the brand, whereas the Kona, I remember when I was trying to get some accessories for it, most of them were like sold in Australia just because at the time that I purchased it, it was only being sold in, I think, 5 states. So you just have so many more aftermarket and third-party pieces you can get with the Tesla, which is really nice. So I personally prefer the Tesla over the Kona in terms of the style and design. All right, so that wraps up the review of the Kona versus the Model Y long range. Thank you for making it this far in the video. Overall, if I had to say what the winner would be, I would say both of these are truly great cars. You really can't go wrong. However, if having owned both of these, I will say that the Model Y for me is just the winner, just because prices have dropped so much for the Model Y versus what they were new. So I think it's a no-brainer when you think about all the tech and all the different features that you get included. So again, thanks again for watching this, and I hope it helps you make a decision if you're considering both of these cars.